Very good evening to all the viewers. Happy evening. So welcome to the session of dividends today. Before starting our session as on regular basis, every day we have a power capsule for today. And today's power capsule is confidence. Umbrella can't stop the rain, but can make us stand in the rain. Okay. So when it is heavily raining, we need to do some urgent task, or we are stuck in between the road. So we have an umbrella with us. It protects us from rain, but it will not stop the rain, but it will protect you and it will protect from that particular rain. Okay, so it gives us confidence to move on the road or to go from one place to another place, even though it is raining heavy. Similarly, confidence may not bring us success, but it gives us all the necessary power to face challenges in life. Okay, what they are saying is confidence will not bring us success, but it gives us lots of power and energy to face the challenges in life. So everyone, all dear students, okay, so very good evening. So have my power capsule for today is having confidence in you. So have confidence in you in facing the examination. So what is the result? Don't bother about the result. What could be the result is not a big factor here. Are you writing the exam? Are you facing the exam? Are you able to write the exam? Madam, I'm so scared of theory exam whether I will do well or not. Okay. If your preparation is on right track, if you go ahead with your better preparation and presentation, you will definitely have the confidence in writing the exam well. So please, dear students, have enough of confidence to face in this particular next 2 months, which is very important for you, which will give you lots of power to do the exams well. So once again, very good evening to all the viewers and dear students. So let us begin the session with lots of confidence, and we are going to deal today. The topic is dividend, an interesting topic and very easy topic. Okay, the topic of dividend is very important as it is a new chapter for CA Inter students. Accounts and audits are new chapter. Definitely, you are going to get around 5 to 8 marks from this particular topic, and I think in the last 2 years you got around somewhere 6 marks from the topic of dividend. So it's a very important topic. So let's not waste much time here and let's begin the topic of dividend. Okay, yesterday we have dealt about accounts of company, so I hope everyone had gone through the video and understood the concept well. So please listen again and again. So if you listen so carefully and actively, you would get the concept and you would be able to understand the concept and write exam while your preparation. Okay. Now, today, before beginning the topic of dividend, let us start with the slides so that while I'm explaining you can go through the slides which I have given. Now, okay. Okay. So, what is dividend? Madam, before starting this particular topic of dividend, okay, let me tell you, this particular topic is from chapter 8 of the Companies Act. Okay, so as you have already mentioned previously in the beginning of the session, that Companies Act have total 470 sections, 29 chapters and 7 schedules. This dividend topic is basically mentioned in chapter 8 of the Companies Act, because I'm mentioning this chapter numbers also, so that if they ask you in the examination bits, you would be able to answer well. Okay, students, listen carefully. 30 marks bits which are asked exclusively in Companies Act, okay, and Companies Act as well as in other topics of your law. I think total Companies Act is for 60 marks, and bits might be asked for 20 marks or 15 marks, and so it would remain 15 and 20 marks would cover from other topic. But if you listen the concept carefully, you can easily answer the bits. They will not ask you bits from out of the syllabus. They'll ask you within the syllabus only. So in that particular total, in your total law paper, 30 marks are for bits. It is very scoring part for you. Easily, minimum, if you listen to all the concepts, minimum you can score around 20 to 25 marks you can get exclusively from bits. And remaining 25 to 30 marks you can get from that 70 marks practical as well as theoretical paper. Okay. So if you try to get this basic marks, you would stand in this particular paper with a minimum mark of 55, 60 minimum mark you can easily score. Okay, so be confident. listen well, and prepare well for the exam. Okay. In this particular topic of dividend, the word in the meaning of dividend, I'll say from the word meaning of dividend. The word dividend is derived from Latin word. Okay, each and every word have its, like origination from different languages like Latin, German, Greek. Okay, so like that. Even few words are from Sanskrit, from our own Sanskrit language. Okay, the word dividend is derived from Latin word which means to dividend. It means it is a thing which is divided among the people. Okay, so it is one thing which is being divided or distributed among the people is called as dividend. Okay, now as you all know, in case of a company, you get so many investments. You get the promoters themselves will bring initial investments. If at all company want to expand its business and grow well, you take the investments from outside public by issuing prospectus. When outside public become the investors to the company, contribute some money or money's worth like in form of a capital to the company, they would become the shareholders as well as members of the company. What is the intention behind contributing to the company? What is the main objective of an investor in contributing to a company? Means because he's interested in the business of company. Ante kada? So if a particular the shareholder or a particular public is investing in the company, means he's interested and his hard-earned money is kept in the business. Okay, what is an objective of keeping in the business? So that his income would multiply, his investment would multiply, and he would enjoy the return on the investment. With that particular notion or with that particular objective, outside public or an investor is investing his hard-earned money into the company as a capital. Okay, therefore the company have to give something back. No, something back given by the company is called as a dividend. That is nothing but company is distributing their profits to the members of the company, whoever have contributed to the capital of the company. What is the company doing here? Company is distributing the profits. Okay, whatever profits they get annually, those are distributed to the shareholders, and dividends are given only to equity shareholders and preference shareholders. This point also I have mentioned in the previous slide. Okay, dividend is given only to equity shareholders and preference shareholders. First, if the company have both preference as well as equity shareholders, if the company is having both preference and equity shareholders, first the company would give the dividend to preference shareholders. Only after paying to preference shareholders only, dividend is paid to equity shareholders. Okay, understood? And for preference shareholders, in the prospectus itself, company will fix a rate of dividend for preference shareholders. What the company would do? Company would fix a rate of dividend for the preference shareholders. But in case of equity shareholders, the rate of dividend would vary from year to year, from one financial year to other financial year. Okay, now. Okay, fine, madam. Company is giving them dividends for these shareholders because of their investment in the company. It is distributing their profits. For suppose if company is not having profits in that particular financial year, is it mandatory rule for the company to give dividends to equity as well as preference shareholders? No. If only when company have declared dividend, only when the board of directors have declared the dividend, have promised to give, then only the dividend becomes a debt to the company. Very, very important. Please, students, note down. The company will distribute its profits only when company is having profits with them. If the company is not having profits, it is not an obligation for the company to give the dividend either to preference or to equity shareholders. But when the board of directors of the company declare that they are going to give the dividend, they are planning to give the dividend, then it becomes a debt to the company. Therefore, it is mandatory for the board of directors and the management to give the dividend. Okay, so understood that point. We will discuss in detail that point as coming. Okay, now. Here, according to the provisions of Companies Act, the word dividend is defined under section 2, subsection 35 of the Companies Act. Please note down this particular section. According to the provisions of Companies Act, the word dividend is derived under section 2, subsection 35 of the Companies Act. Here, dividend includes interim dividend also. Please underline star mark for your bid. Here, dividend includes interim dividend. Okay, what is interim dividend, madam? Yeah. Okay, there are two types of dividend: final dividend and interim dividend. Okay, I will give you a clear clarity. I will understand. I will make you understand the difference between interim dividend and the final dividend. Point number one. First, let me explain about interim dividend. Then I'll explain you about the final dividend. Okay. The interim dividend is the dividend which is declared by the board of directors in their board meeting. Okay, in between an year, financial year. Okay, what is interim dividend? Interim dividend is a dividend which is declared by the board of directors in their board meeting. Here, shareholders' permission is not required in case of interim dividend. Whose permission is not required in case of interim dividend? Shareholders' permission అవసరం లేదు. Interim dividend అనేది board of directors వాళ్ళ board meeting లో decide చేస్తారు in order to pay to the shareholders in between two AGMs or in between a financial year. Okay, that is why it is called as intermediate. It means that interim means intermediate, in between. Okay, now for the purpose of interim dividend, the company need not again take the permission of shareholders in the general meeting. Okay, company will plan, the directors will plan to give this interim dividend based on the previous quarter profits during the financial year. Suppose the company's financial year begins from April 1st to know. Okay, when the company is planning to give an interim dividend in the month of September, then they would look whether the company is having profits in the previous months. Okay, what are the previous months? August, July, June. In the 3 quarters, before the preceding 3 months, whether the company is having profits or not, company will check. If a company is having sufficient profits, then the board of directors will decide in their board meeting that the company is going to pay interim dividend. The rate of dividend is also decided by the board members only. If the company is having sufficient profits in the previous quarter, during that particular financial year, the dividend rate also is decided by board of directors only. Okay, so this is one option available for board of directors to pay interim dividend. Here, shareholders' permission is not at all required. For suppose if the company is not having any profit during the previous quarter, madam. Okay, company is not at all having profit, but still the board of directors want to give interim dividend in the month in the board meeting which is held in the month of September. How is this possible, madam? Is it possible? Yes, it would be possible. Even though if the company is not having sufficient profits during the current financial year, the dividend can be paid out of accumulated profits or out of free reserves or out of capital profits. Understood? Okay, so here what the Companies Act is saying, even though the company did not have sufficient profits during the current financial year, the interim dividend can be paid by the company out of accumulated profits, out of free reserves, and out of capital profits. Okay, however, in that case, if company is using free reserves for the purpose of payment of interim dividend, the rate of dividend should not exceed the rate which is given preceding 3 interim dividends. Okay, previously if the company have given for 3 times the interim dividend before 3 preceding financial years, we should take the average of preceding 3 financial years. That rate you should take average, and accordingly the rate of dividend should not exceed that particular rate. For example, previous 3 financial years the company have declared interim dividend of 10%, 12%, 13%. The company have to take average rate among those 3. Okay, this is if the company is using free reserves. If the company is using its current year profits, this rule is not at all applicable. Understood? Okay, the board of directors are at wish to declare the dividend whatever they wish to give. Okay, so this is all about interim dividend, which is declared by the board of directors during the middle of any year, and it can be declared at any time between 2 AGMs, and it can be paid out of the current year profits. What are the surplus in P&L account or profits which are generated in the preceding quarters and with free reserves can be utilized for the purpose of payment of interim dividend. Okay, now next come to final dividend. This final dividend, very, very important, students. Please understand the basic difference between interim dividend and final dividend. Final dividend is recommended by the board of directors and it should be accepted by the shareholders in the general meeting only by passing ordinary resolution. We have dealt with this particular point in the chapter of general meetings where I told you the four ordinary business matters in the general meeting are declaration of dividend, adoption of annual accounts, and appointment of auditor and fixing their remuneration, appointment of directors. We have seen four ordinary business matters, right? Okay. So here what the Companies Act is saying is the final dividend for the equity shareholders would be declared, would be recommended first by the board. The board will specify the percentages of dividend which they would like to give on the profits. Like they would specify 10%, 12%, 15% accordingly based on the calculations they make. They would recommend the percentage, but the rate would be finally decided by the shareholders in the general meeting only after passing ordinary resolution. Okay. So once declared by the board in the annual general meeting is final. The board of directors cannot cancel that they would not make the payment of dividend, cannot revoke back their proposal. Once the board of directors had made proposal for payment of dividend, it is final. They cannot revoke or cancel the proposal. It becomes debt to the company. However, what the Companies Act is saying here is, if for some or other reasons, if they could not make a payment of dividend, only if the shareholders in the general meeting approve for the reasons submitted by the board, then the revocation or cancellation for payment would be possible. Otherwise, it would not at all be possible. Okay, so once again telling this point, please listen. Once the dividend is declared by the board of directors in the annual general meeting and it is decided by the shareholders by passing an ordinary resolution, the proposal is final. The board cannot withdraw, cannot take back the proposal. Okay. However, if the company is having, if the directors having genuine reason that they are not able to pay the dividend, if the reasons are satisfied by the shareholders in the general meeting, they can cancel this proposal. Understood? Okay. So this is a very important point. Now let me tell you the difference between interim and final dividend. The interim dividend is declared by the board of directors. Here shareholders need not give their approval in case of interim dividend. But in case of final dividend, it is proposed by the board and it is accepted by the shareholders in the general meeting. There is a difference. First difference. Next, interim dividend is made between financial year and final dividend would be paid only after the completion of AGM. Okay. These are the very important difference between interim dividend and final dividend. If in case of interim dividend, board need not take the permission of shareholders. In case of final dividend, permission of shareholders is very, very essential. And interim dividend can be paid out of current year profits or free resource. In the same way, final dividend, from where it can be paid, madam? The dividend can be paid, the sources of dividend, the company can pay the dividend either from its current year profits or from accumulated profits or from free reserves or from the capital profit. These are the options available for the company to pay the dividend. Understood? Okay. So this is very important. Basic points of interim and final dividend. Madam, is the dividend payable to preference shareholders? Yes, the dividend is also paid to preference shareholders. Okay. However, the rate of dividend is not fixed in AGM for preference shareholders. Remember once again, it is already prefixed. Means what? In case of preference shareholders, the rate of dividend is already prefixed. It is fixed beforehand. They need not fix every time in the annual general meeting. Okay, it is prefixed. The rate of dividend will not vary in case of preference shareholders. Okay, the company is giving provisions for payment of preference shareholders in their articles. Articles of the company will allow the company to pay the dividend to the preference shareholders. Okay, and only after paying to preference share, if the company is declaring the dividend, if company also declares that it would pay the dividend to preference shareholders, then it becomes debt to the company. Until the board of directors declare that they are going to pay the dividend this particular financial year to preference shareholders? Preference shareholders cannot ask the board to pay the dividend. Okay, the preference shareholders will get the right to ask to pay the dividend only after it is declared by the board. Very important point you have to keep in mind. Okay, I'll tell you once again. ఎప్పుడైతే బోర్డ్ ఆఫ్ డైరెక్టర్స్ మేము డివిడెండ్ ఇస్తాము ఈ ఫైనాన్షియల్ ఇయర్ అని వాళ్ళు డిక్లేర్ చేసిన తర్వాత ప్రిఫరెన్స్ షేర్ హోల్డర్స్ కి అడిగే హక్కు వస్తుందండి. వాళ్ళు డిక్లేర్ చేసే అంత వరకు కూడా ప్రిఫరెన్స్ షేర్ హోల్డర్స్ కి మాకు డివిడెండ్ కావాలి అని అడిగే హక్కు లేదు. ఓకే, ద రేట్ ఆఫ్ డివిడెండ్ ఇస్ ప్రీఫిక్స్డ్. Therefore, once they have declared, only after paying to preference shareholders only, the company will pay to equity shareholders. Okay, in case of preference shareholders also, for cumulative preference shareholders, the dividend if company could not pay in one financial year, it gets accumulated for the next year. అంటే ఒక సంవత్సరం పే చేయకపోతే ఆ సంవత్సరం పే చేయాల్సిన డివిడెండ్ అంతా అక్యూములేట్ అవుతుందండి. సో ద నెక్స్ట్ ఇయర్ ద కంపెనీ హ్యావ్ టు పే దెమ్ ఇన్ ఫుల్. However, in case of non-cumulative preference shareholders, there is no such accumulation. If company declares to pay, it will pay. If company did not declare to pay, it will not. That's all. That is in case of non-cumulative preference shareholders. Understood? Madam, for suppose if a shareholder is paying all the money in advance, even the dividend will also be paid more for that particular shareholder, madam? No. Dividend is paid to the shareholder on pro rata basis on the basis of the paid up value of the share during that particular financial year. How the dividend is paid in that financial year, which on the date of AGM, to what extent the value of the share is paid by the shareholders on pro rata, that is proportion to the paid up value of the share on the date of AGM, the dividend would be paid to that particular shareholder. Okay, the shareholder will get the dividend on pro rata basis based on the paid up value of the share. Okay, madam, instead of payment of dividend, can the company give bonus shares to the shareholder? No, it is prohibited under the provisions of Companies Act. Bonus shares cannot be given in lieu of dividend. Please understand this particular point as a bit for your examination point of view. Okay, so payment of bonus shares cannot be paid in lieu of dividend. Understood? It's an important. These all are what points I am telling are. Those would be asked as a bits. Please note down. Okay. Now this is also very important examination bit. Section 8 companies need not follow the provisions under Chapter 8 of the Companies Act. What does it mean? Section 8 companies need not follow the provisions of dividend. You know why? Because Section 8 companies are non-profit organization or licensed company where they should not distribute the profits as dividend to their shareholders. Understood? Important examination. Section 8 companies need not follow the provisions of from 123 to 128, which are said in this particular topic of dividend. Because it is a non-profit organization, they will not distribute their profits as dividends to the shareholders. If they do so, their license would be cancelled. Understood? So this particular section is not applicable. This particular chapter is not applicable to what type of companies? Section 8 companies. Okay. Now, next one. What are the sources for distribution of dividend? For the sources for distribution of interim dividend or final dividend, here already I have mentioned you, the company can use profits of current year, or the company can use profits of previous year, or the company can use combination of both. For example, company have to pay the dividend of 100 crores. If current year profits are only 10 crores, balance 90 crores it can take from the previous year profits. Understood? Okay. Or it can also use the monies received from central government. Okay. So it can use profits from current year, it can use profits from previous financial year, or it can use combination of both. Or it can use whatever money is received in form of subsidies from the central government or state government, it can use that particular money also. However, Carry forward losses and depreciation specified in the Schedule 2 of the Companies Act should be reduced from the profits. What have to be deducted? Carry forward losses and depreciation, which is specified in Schedule 2 of the Companies Act, should be derived from the profits. And company can also use the capital profits for the purpose of distribution of dividend if it is provided in the Articles of Association. What the company can use? It can also use capital profits. For example, capital profits means profit received on sale of a fixed asset, profits on reissue of forfeiture of shares. Okay, these are few examples for capital profits. What are capital profits the company gets should be can also be used for the purpose of declaration of dividend. Okay, and if the company is using current year profits for the purpose of distribution as a dividend, for the purpose of giving as a dividend, company, if it is using current year profits, it need not transfer any percentage of reserves to the separate account. Okay, if the company is using current year profits, it is not mandatory for the company to transfer some profits to a reserve account. Unless and until it is a company's option. If they want to do, suppose company is having 100 crores profit. If company want to transfer 10% of their profits before declaring dividend to separate reserve account, they can do so. It is an option. There is no mandatory rule. Or they can give 100% profits as a distribute as it as dividend. Or they can save 10% of the profits, balance 90% profits, they can distribute as dividend. It is the option left to board of directors. It's hard and fast. There is no hard and fast rule on the board of directors regarding the utilization of profits for current year. But they should try to, they should try to deduct the depreciations and the losses which are carried forward. However, if the company is using accumulated profits or free reserves, then company have to mandatorily follow certain rules given under Companies Act. So please understand, if company is using current year profits, there are no rules for utilization of those profits given under Companies Act. However, if company is using the profit or the accumulated profits or free reserves, certain rules should be mandatorily followed. What are those rules are given here? Please mark it as very, very important from examination perspective. Company have two options for declaration of dividend. Number one, they can use the current year profits. If they don't have current year profits, they can use from free reserves or accumulated profits. For using current year profits, no rules are specified under Companies Act. But if the company is using accumulated profits or free reserves, declaration of dividend in case of inadequacy or absence of current year profits, that means they are using the free reserves or accumulated profits, then these rules have to be mandatorily followed. What are these rules, madam? Here, the rules are given. Rule number one. Okay. The rate of dividend should not exceed, okay, the rate of dividend should not exceed previous rate of dividend for the 3 preceding financial years. Okay, whatever rate the company is going to declare in the year 2020, it should not be more than the average rate of preceding 3 financial years in which the company have declared in the year 2019, 18 and 17. If company did not declare any dividend, madam, in the preceding 3 financial years, then no need to follow this particular rule. Understood? Only if company, if there are rates which are specified in the preceding 3 financial year, you should calculate average of it. Okay, and how much amount you should take from free reserves? If suppose free reserves are having 500 crores, the entire 500 crores will be used for the purpose of distribution of dividend, madam. No, what the Companies Act is saying is the total amount which could be drawn from the accumulated profits of free reserves should not exceed 10% of paid up share capital in free reserves. Understood? Okay, very important. Second rule is what? The total amount which should be drawn from the accumulated profits or free reserves should not exceed or should not be more than 10% of paid up share capital in free reserves. Okay, this is second rule. Third rule is after the withdrawal, we have withdrawn some amount from that particular reserves. After we withdrew, At least 15% of paid up share capital should remain as balance. See, suppose our paid up share capital is 100 crores. Okay, and 15% of it means 15 crores. Okay, that 15 crores balance should be maintained in the reserves. Suppose reserves is 500 crores. But after withdrawing, you should see that it should maintain at least 15% of the paid up share capital as per the latest audited financial statement. You should maintain it as a balance in the reserves. You cannot make reserve balance zero. You should maintain some balance. Okay, then only it is valid. Okay, then whatever money you withdrawn for the purpose of payment of dividend should immediately total amount, how much you are going to distribute it as dividends, the total amount you should transfer or you should shift to a separate scheduled bank account within a period of 5 days from the date of declaration by the board of directors. Okay, within how many days the amount of dividend to be paid by the company should be transferred to separate bank account means it should be within a period of 5 days from the date of declaration. Understood? Okay. So once again, these rules are applicable in case if the company is using accumulated profits or reserves for the purpose of payment of dividend. Because during that financial year, company does not have any current year profits. Okay, number one, the rate of dividend should not exceed the average rate of dividend during the preceding 3 financial years. This is the first rule. The second rule is the total amount drawn from the accumulated profits should not be more than 10% of paid up share capital and free reserves. And after withdrawing from the reserve, the balance kept in the reserve should not fall below 15% of the paid up share capital. These are the 3 important rules which are same for interim as well as final dividend. The points are same for interim as well as final dividend. Understood? Okay. Now, here the total amount of dividend, total amount of money which is used for purpose of dividend, the company should maintain it, transfer it in separate bank account within a period of 5 days from the date of declaration. Okay, all these are very, very important points. However, these rules are not applicable to 100% owned government companies. Star mark forbid. Please note down, dear students, this particular point. These rules, according to recent notification, are not applicable to 100% owned government companies. Therefore, the total shareholding should be in the hands of government companies. For them, these rules are not applicable. Okay, this is the one. And now, madam, under section 123, subsection 5, how this dividend is paid to the holders? The dividend is paid to all the registered shareholders whose name is appearing in the books of company, the register of member books. Okay, that is why the dividend is paid to the registered shareholder. Okay. Okay, now in what way it can be paid? It can be paid in form of cash, it can be paid in form of check, it can be paid in form of warrants. Or it can be transferred through electronic mode. The 4 ways of payment of dividend. It can be payable in form of cash, it can be payable in form of check, it can be payable in form of dividend warrants, or it can be transferred through online basis. Okay. Here, dividend warrant is a kind of a document issued by the company to the registered shareholder that is eligible to receive the dividend on that particular warrant. What is dividend warrant means? It's a kind of a document or acknowledgement given by the company to the registered shareholder that is eligible to receive the dividend from the company. Understood? However, note down here, students, one more important examination bit. Dividends are not to be paid in kind. The company should not pay dividend in kind. Star mark, underline for bit. Okay, the dividend cannot be paid by the company in kind. Okay, the dividend now it should be given to the shareholder within a period of 30 days from the date of declaration or from the day of end of the AGM. ఓకే, ఒకసారి డిక్లేర్ అయిన తర్వాత అక్కడి నుంచి 30 days లోపల కంపల్సరీగా రిజిస్టర్డ్ షేర్ హోల్డర్ కి డివిడెండ్ ని ట్రాన్స్ఫర్ చేయాలి. ఓకే, within how many days the dividend should be transferred? Within a period of 30 days. అలా 30 days లోపల అమౌంట్ ట్రాన్స్ఫర్ చేయలేదనుకోండి, మనం డిలే చేసినట్లయితే for the purpose of the delay period the company is liable to pay interest amount. Okay, what will happen if the company could not make the payment of dividend in time? The company, if it could not pay the dividend within a period of 30 days, it have to pay an interest amount after that particular 30 days over. Okay, otherwise the company is liable for penalty. Company have to pay interest at the rate of 18%. After the completion of 30 days, the company is liable to pay interest at the rate of 13%. Madam, dividend is paid to registered shareholder, you told no. If there are joint shareholders for whom the dividend is paid. In case of joint shareholders, the dividend is paid to the person whose name is registered first. In case of joint shareholders, it's paid to the person whose name is registered first. In case of transfer of shares, if the shares are registered in name of transferee or based on the written order received from the transferor, the company is authorized to pay. If the transferor give a written order to the company to pay the amount to the transferee, it will pay accordingly. Otherwise, whosever name is appearing in the books of members, the company will pay dividend to them. Okay, these are the points. Generally, the dividend is paid by the company to the registered shareholder of the company. However, in case of joint shareholders, I have told you, in case of a transfer, I have mentioned. And the dividend have to be paid within a period of 30 days from the date of declaration. Otherwise, company is liable for penalty, interest to pay interest even it exceed 1 day extra. It have to pay interest at the rate of 18%. And if the company fails to pay the dividend after declaration, if company fails to pay the dividend, then company and its officers are liable for penalty, which includes imprisonment up to 3 years, and they have to pay 1,000 rupees per day until the default continues. Okay, so these are very, very important examinations. And another important bit is, if the company could not comply with the requirements under 73 and 74 under the deposit rules, if company failed to comply with the requirements under the topic of deposits, if company fails, in such cases, company could not make repayment of deposits or could not repay to the deposit holders, then company cannot pay dividend. Company is not eligible to pay dividend. Only when the deposit shareholder, only when the deposit holders receive the money, afterwards only company can declare the dividend. If company fail to do so, company cannot declare the dividend, which is set under the Companies Act. Okay, understood? Is a very, very important point which you have to remember. Okay, so if company makes any default under section, note down, if company makes any default under section 73 and 74 regarding repayment of deposits, then company cannot declare dividend. Okay, next, in case of Vidhi companies, dividend is payable in cash or by crediting the amount same to their account within a period of 30 days of declaration of dividend. This is also applicable in case of Nidhi company. Okay, here few case studies. Let us go through these case studies carefully, and let us, until now we have seen few provisions regarding dividend, and for all these provisions there are few case studies or few practical questions which are asked in the examination. So let us go through them these carefully. Okay, a well-established manufacturing public limited company proposes to issue fully paid up bonus shares as in lieu of dividend without converting partly paid up shares into fully paid up shares. Is it possible? Comment. No. Okay, no company can declare bonus shares instead of dividend. Okay, bonus shares cannot be issued according to the provisions of Companies Act. Bonus shares cannot be issued in lieu of dividend. Only bonus shares are given for fully paid up shares after converting partly paid up into fully paid up. Only then the bonus shares can be issued. Okay, this is the answer for the first practical question. Okay, next one. The directors of ABC Limited proposes to declare dividend at the rate of 20% to equity shareholders. Okay, they wanted to give how much percentage of dividend to their equity shareholders? 20%. Despite the fact that company has defaulted in payment in repayment of public deposits accepted before commencement of this act. Company have accepted deposits before 2013 and company could not make proper repayment. Now company want to first pay the dividend at the rate of 20% to equity shareholders. Is it possible? Is it valid? Tell me it would be valid? No. Just now I have told you, if a company failed the provisions to comply with the provisions under 73 and 74 of Companies Act. That is, if company could not repay the deposits to the deposit holders or the creditors, then company should not declare dividend. First, company have to repay to the deposit holders. Then only they should declare the dividend. This is not valid according to the provisions of Companies Act is the answer. Okay. So this is also very, very important. Now next, third one. CBA Limited wants to declare dividend for the current financial year ending, though it did not have any profits during the financial year. But still the company has been declaring dividend for the last financial year in order to maintain the reputation. This year also they want to declare dividend out of accumulated profits. Can they do so? Once again I will tell you this particular question. This question lo em chepparante amma పలానా సిబిఏ లిమిటెడ్ అనే కంపెనీ వాళ్ళు ఫైనాన్షియల్ ఇయర్ ఎండింగ్ అంటే ఏజిఎం కండక్ట్ చేస్తున్నప్పుడు దే వాంట్ టు డిక్లేర్ దట్ దే వాంట్ టు పే ద డివిడెండ్ ఈవెన్ ఇన్ దిస్ కరెంట్ ఇయర్ ఆల్సో ఈవెన్ దే డోంట్ హ్యావ్ ప్రాఫిట్స్ డ్యూరింగ్ ద ఇయర్ దే ఆర్ సఫరింగ్ ఫ్రమ్ లాసెస్ దే ఆర్ హ్యావింగ్ లాసెస్ ప్రాఫిట్స్ లేవు కానీ డివిడెండ్ పే చేయాలనుకున్నారు ఎందుకు అలా అనుకుంటున్నారంటే గత 5 ఏళ్లుగా వాళ్ళు కంటిన్యూస్ గా షేర్ హోల్డర్స్ ని డిసప్పాయింట్ చేయకుండా కంటిన్యూస్ గా ఎవ్రీ ఇయర్ డివిడెండ్ పే చేస్తున్నారు. Okay, company is declaring dividend continuously for the last 5 years without disappointing them. They don't want to spoil their reputation. Their confidence is that next year they can do it, they can perform well and they can regain their profits. But confidence ఏంటంటే నెక్స్ట్ ఇయర్ మేము బాగా పర్ఫార్మ్ చేస్తాము, మేము ఇంకా బాగా ప్రాఫిట్స్ తెచ్చుకుంటాము. సో అందుకని మా రెప్యుటేషన్, మా గుడ్ విల్, మా ఇమేజ్ డ్యామేజ్ అవ్వకుండా మేము ఈ ఇయర్ కూడా డివిడెండ్స్ డిక్లేర్ చేస్తాము, మాకు ప్రాఫిట్స్ లేకపోయినా అని ఒక ధీమాతో సిబిఏ లిమిటెడ్ అనే కంపెనీ వాళ్ళు వాంట్ టు డిక్లేర్ ద డివిడెండ్. Can they do so? Yes. What the Companies Act is saying, if the company, even though it is suffering from the current year losses, even though the company does not have current year profits during the current financial year, it can declare dividend if it have free reserves or accumulated profits. Free reserves or accumulated profits ఉన్నట్లయితే dividend ని declare చేయొచ్చు. Okay, so if the company want to use its free reserves or accumulated profits, it should mandatorily follow the provisions and rules given under this particular chapter 8 of the Companies Act. If the company want to give the dividend out of the accumulated profits and free reserves, it is mandatory for the company to follow what rules? Rules specified under chapter 8 of the Companies Act relating to dividend. Understood? So in this way, see how simple the question is. Okay, if you understand the question and concept, you can write fine. Okay, these are the few case studies or few practical questions which are asked for the examination. See the next question. The question is big, but let us check for the answer. Okay, the agenda for the meeting of Board of Directors of Brilliant Limited held on 20th 9 2014 for adoption of annual accounts for the year ending 31/3/2014 included an item relating to payment of dividend. Okay, so they are deciding to payment of dividend. Okay, at the meeting it became an apparent that the profits made during the year were inadequate to declare the dividend, but the board of directors are keen to maintain 20% only. Okay, as they have given in the previous years. The company has some accumulated profits earned in the previous years which were transferred to reserves. Advise the company, can company go and pay 20% on equity shares as dividend? Okay, fine. Here I'll tell you. Once again, I'll explain. In this particular case of Brilliant Limited company, the directors of the company decided to pay the dividend. In this particular case also, the company is not having any current year profits. Okay, but still, since last year they had paid 20% of dividend for the equity shareholders, this year also they want to maintain 20%. Because if they pay less, no shareholders will think negative. on the company. Their image would damage. So what they want to do here in the same year also, they want to pay 20%. Can they do so? Is it possible? They're asking you. What we have to say, since the company current year profits are nil, since the company is not having any current year profits, the company can pay, still the company can pay dividend out of accumulated or free reserves. But company have to follow the rules. What are the three rules? You have to write in provision mandatory the three rules. The rate of dividend should not exceed the average rate for preceding 3 financial years. And the amount withdrawn from reserves should not exceed 10% of paid up share capital in free reserves. After withdrawing it from reserves, the balance should be kept at the particular free reserve should not should not be less than 15% of paid up share cap. All the three rules, if the company can comply, it can declare dividend. But company should not say stubbornly that it wants to pay 20% dividend, because it cannot decide the rate of dividend. Here the rate will be decided based on the calculations you make in the rules specified under company side. Okay, so this is regarding the fourth answer. Very, very important case study. Okay, fifth one. The company has suffered a net loss for the year. The directors, however, paid an interim dividend at the rate of 30% based on the half-year performance of the company. Can they pay? Yes, it can also be paid. The same rules which are applicable to final dividend, the same rules are also applicable in this case. In this case, also, company is not having current year profits. Company is going to pay the interim dividend out of accumulated profits. Yes, the company can do so only after satisfying the rules specified under Companies Act. Okay, so these are very, very important points relating to the cases specified. Please listen again. Look into those cases. These practical questions are very important, because I told you, in the beginning itself, around 6 marks they would ask from this particular topic of dividend. So in the 6 marks can be a direct question, or can be a practical, or they can be in form of bits. So please get ready. Be prepared to write any kind of answer if they have mentioned you. Okay. Now, unpaid dividend account. What is this unpaid dividend account? I'll tell you. Under section 124, important theoretical question. Sometimes they will ask you to explain unpaid dividend account under section 124 of the Companies Act. Please try to listen carefully. Here I have shown you in a flowchart. Please see carefully. Okay. Once the company board of directors declare dividend in the AGM, and it is accepted or adopted by the shareholders in the general meeting, okay, then within 30 days from the date of declaration, within 30 days from the date of declaration, the company have to distribute the dividend to the registered shareholders to the addresses given by them in their register. ఏదైతే రిజిస్టర్ షేర్హోల్డర్స్ అడ్రస్ మెయింటైన్ చేశారో అడ్రస్ అందరికీ కూడా డివిడెండ్ పంపించాలి కంపెనీ వాళ్ళు. Dividend can be given in form of cash, or through electronic mode, or through check, or through dividend warrant. Okay, so within 30 days pay cheyakapoyina company, if it could not make the payment to the registered shareholders, or company వాళ్ళు pay చేసిన తర్వాత the checks have returned back saying that the address is false, there is no shareholder who is residing in that particular address, or if the shareholder could not claim the money, there is nobody, if the shareholder is not there in India to claim the money, okay, then that is not the fault of the company. Company fault కాదమ్మా అక్కడ. ఓకే, కంపెనీ పే చేయాలని ట్రై చేసినా అటు సైడ్ షేర్ హోల్డర్ లేకపోవడం వల్ల, లేకపోతే షేర్ హోల్డర్ తెలియకపోవడం వల్ల, లేదా షేర్ హోల్డర్ రాంగ్ అకౌంట్ డీటెయిల్స్ ఇవ్వడం వల్ల, లేదా షేర్ హోల్డర్ రాంగ్ అడ్రస్ డీటెయిల్స్ ఇవ్వడం వల్ల ద అమౌంట్ కుడ్ నాట్ బి క్లెయిమ్డ్. In such cases, immediately after completion of 7 days, అంటే 30 days అయిపోయిన తర్వాత remaining 7 days లో, that a balance unpaid amount which is there in company's account, which is not paid as dividend, that unpaid amount should be immediately transferred to another account which is called as unpaid dividend account. ఎన్ని రోజుల లోపల అన్పేడ్ డివిడెండ్ అకౌంట్ కి ట్రాన్స్ఫర్ చేసేయాలి కంపెనీ వాళ్ళు అంటే, డివిడెండ్ డిక్లేర్ చేసిన 30 days తర్వాత 7 days లోపల ఎవరు క్లెయిమ్ చేయకపోతే ఆ 7 days లోపల that amount should be transferred to a separate account which is maintained by the company in a scheduled bank which is called as an unpaid dividend account. Okay, understood? Then immediately what the company, once the amount, all that amount is transferred to unpaid dividend account, then the company within a period of 90 days after transfer to that particular unpaid dividend account ki transfer in 90 days lopala, company will prepare the details. What the company will do? Company will prepare the details of for which shareholder did not take the dividend, what is his name, what is how much amount he did not take. Okay, what is his address given, all the details, a list of the shareholders who have not taken the dividend, all the list is prepared by the company and it is posted by the company on their own website, and it is also posted by the website which is approved by the government for this purpose alone. Okay, so the details within a period of 90 days are posted by the company in their own website, and at the same time it is also posted by the company on the website provided by the central government, and this amount will stay in that particular unpaid dividend account for a period of 7 years. ఎన్నేళ్ల పాటు అమౌంట్ అక్కడ ఉంటుంది 7. ఈ లోపల ఈ 7 years లో ఏ షేర్ హోల్డర్ అయినా సరే తను రియలైజ్ అయ్యి తన ఇంటిమేషన్ వచ్చి ఏదో రకంగా అమౌంట్ డ్రా చేసుకోవాలంటే he can make an application to the company and he can draw that particular unpaid dividend amount after giving an application to the company along with interest. This unclaimed amount can be utilized by the shareholders. On looking into the website given on the company's website or on the website provided by the government, if shareholders comes to the knowledge that there is some dividend which is being stayed, which is being laying in the unpaid dividend account, he can claim for that particular dividend. Understood? By making application to the company. This is a very, very important concept of unpaid dividend account under section 124. Once again, I will tell you. Okay, once the company have declared dividend in their AGM, within a period of 30 days, it should be paid to the shareholders to the registered address specified to the company. If the shareholders could not claim the amount, whatever amount paid to the shareholders account has been returned back because of their wrong addresses or the addresses are not matching. In such cases, that unpaid or unclaimed dividend amount will be transferred within a period of 7 days to another account maintained by the company in the scheduled bank, which is called as unpaid dividend account. If the company fails to transfer the amount within 7 days, for extra 1 day, it has to pay interest at the rate of 12% per annum. Once all this unclaimed amount is transferred to unpaid dividend account, after transfer, within a period of 90 days, that is within a period of 3 months, the company should prepare the list of shareholders' names, their addresses, their phone numbers, their mails, etc., and how much amount of dividend they did not claim. Okay, all the details list the company's shareholders will prepare and they place on company's website, and they'll also place on the website which is approved by the central government for this purpose. So that if the shareholder refers to this website or to his knowledge, if the information he gets an information, he can immediately make an application to the company and claim his dividend amount which is laying in the unpaid dividend account. It will stay there, that amount will stay there in that particular account for a period of 7 years. Within 7 years, the shareholders, whoever have to claim, can claim. But after expiry of 7 years, what will happen, madam? After expiry of 7 years, the amount is to be transferred to another fund which is maintained by the central government, which is called as Investor Education Protection Fund account. Okay, so finally where it is transferred? It is transferred to Investor Education Protection Fund account under section 125 of the Companies Act. Okay, so now before let me explain you regarding the details of Investor Education Protection Fund account. Let me see this particular case. See, Supreme Limited declared dividend at the rate of 10 on its 10 lakh equity shares of 10 each on 30th September 2016. The dividend warrants are dispatched to all the shareholders except 3 shareholders holding total 50,000 shares due to dispute regarding title over the shares pending in the court. Okay, they could not do because their shares on their shares, they are fighting in the court. The case is pending in the court. On ascertaining the position on 30th October, it is observed that dividend warrants for rupees 1.5 lakhs were not still encashed by those shareholders. Explain with reference to the provisions of Companies Act. See here, after declaring the dividend, if the amount could not be claimed by the shareholder, because the title of shares, the case is pending in the court, it is not a mistake of the company. Company has declared, company is ready to pay. But still, since the case regarding the shares is pending in the court, the amount could not be claimed by the shareholders. It is remaining as unclaimed. And 30 days is over. Now, what the company have to do in such case, what the company will do, since the case is still pending in the court and the 30 days have also been completed, the company will transfer this unclaimed amount to an unpaid dividend account within a period of next 7 days. And it will specify the details in the company's website. And since it is laying in that particular account for a period of 7 years, if the case is disposed of, or if the court have passed an order relating to the case, then the respective shareholders can come and claim the amount from the unpaid dividend account. In this way, the company have to transfer the amount after completion of 30 days to an account called as unpaid dividend account. If the company fails to transfer, then company is liable for penalty. Understood? So in this way, you should detailedly mention the provision regarding the Companies Act, which is given in this particular topic of dividend chapter. So when you are listening, when you are reading this particular case, you are read it carefully. When you're reading itself, underline what provision they are exactly asking. For what you have to mention their reasons. Okay, so read carefully, analyze the concept and write your answer. Don't be in a hurry to write the answer. Reading the question is very, very important. So generally every student does mistake because after reading half the question, he will think that, okay, fine, I got the provision, I will write. No. Okay, so half reading is not at all perfect reading. It's not good reading at all. You will end up in writing wrong answers. Okay, read the practical question thoroughly. Read it once and twice. Okay, then you write. Then you think carefully and write carefully. Okay, so this is all about your unpaid dividend account. Now, I'll tell you the small provision, then we'll go for it in detail regarding investor education protection fund account. We'll discuss about the particular point. Right to dividend, the right to shares and bonus shares are to be held in abeyance pending registration for transfer of shares. Abeyance means pending, temporarily pending there. See, for example, we have dealt the concept of transfer of shares now. When the shares are being transferred from one person to other person, that is from transferor to a transferee, during the process of transfer, okay, only after completion of this transfer proceedings, only the shareholder, the transferee would get the share certificate from the company. During this period, if the company declares any dividend, or if company declares right shares, or if company declares bonus shares, what would in what way it would be adjusted, madam? Means what the Companies Act is saying. The dividends in between during the process of transfer, if company have declared the dividend, okay, during the process of transfer, if company have declared the dividend, then the company will pay the dividend only to the shareholder whose name is registered with the company. Okay, if the transfer process is completed, transferee's name will be registered. Otherwise, until then, transferor's name only will be registered. No. Okay, so now what the Companies Act is saying, whosever name is registered with the company, for them only you pay the dividend. Otherwise, if the transferor have given a written order to the company saying that please give the dividends to the transferee, then the company have to transfer the dividend to the transferee's account only. The dividend will be transferred to transferring account when only after getting the permission from the transferor. Okay, but however, in case of bonus shares and right shares, until the transfer process is completed, they are hold, means they are kept temporary, they are kept in pending temporarily. Okay, in case of right shares, in case of bonus shares, they are allotted to transferring only after completion of transfer. Until then, they are kept on hold. They will be on hold. But dividends can be given on the permission the company receives from the transferor. Okay, so these are the few important points. Next, punishment. As I told you, if the company failed to, once after declaring the dividend, once after declaration of the dividend, if company fails to distribute the dividends within 30 days to the shareholders, then company is liable for an interest. If after 30 days, if it is going to pay, it have to pay along with an interest rate of 18%. If it have to pay after 30 days. And the officers are liable for an imprisonment up to 2 years or minimum fine of 1,000 every day until default continues. Understood? This is a punishment for failure to distribute their profits or distribute the dividends under section 126 of the Companies Act. Okay. Next, lien on dividend, very important bit which would be asked in examination, lien on dividend. Okay, so let me explain you carefully this particular point of lien on dividend. What is lien on dividend, madam? There should be provision for lien on dividend in the articles. Okay, I will explain you. If the shareholder could not pay the call money for his shares, if the shareholder call money is in arrears, he can request the company to adjust his dividend to the call money. This is called as lien on dividend. Understood? Very simple. ఈ పర్టికులర్ ప్రొవిజన్ కంపెనీ ఆర్టికల్స్ లో ఉన్నట్లయితేనమ్మా, షేర్ హోల్డర్ ఎవరైతే కంపెనీకి కాల్ మనీ పే చేయాల్సి వస్తుందో, ఇంకా బ్యాలెన్స్ కాల్ మనీ ఏదైనా పే చేయాలి ఉన్నట్లయితే షేర్ హోల్డర్ కి, లేదా షేర్ హోల్డర్ కి కాల్సిన ఏరియాస్ ఏమైనా ఉన్నట్లయితే, ఓకే, షేర్ హోల్డర్ కి calls in areas have ఉన్నట్లయితే, he can request, he can order the company, please adjust the dividend amount which you are going to pay me to the call money which I have to pay to the company. Then on the request made by the shareholder, company will do so. This is called lien on dividend. ఇది కాకుండా కంపెనీ వేరే అప్పులకి, షేర్ హోల్డర్ సంబంధించిన వేరే అప్పులకి ఆ పర్టికులర్ అమౌంట్ ని సెట్ ఆఫ్ చేయకూడదు. The amount of dividend should be adjusted only to call money or for calls in areas, not to anything else. Okay, so this is an important point regarding lien on dividend. Okay, now in these following cases under section 127, the companies did not make any default. Company is not liable for any default. Companies exempted from punishments under section 127. In what cases company is exempted? Company could not make the payment by operation of law. For example, the shareholder have died, the shareholder have become insolvent. So company, even though it declared dividend, it could not be able to make payment until it receives the court order. Okay, that's because of by operation of law. Company could not make the payment to the shareholder. Next, shareholder himself have given directions to the company. Please adjust my dividend to the call money or to the calls in areas. He himself have told. Okay, or shareholder himself have given direction to pay this particular amount to somebody else. He have given a written request to the company specifying that other person details also pay to somebody else. In such case also, it's not company default. And on regarding the shareholder shares, the dispute is running in the court. Even though company declared, the shareholder could not come and take the dividend because of the dispute which is pending in the court. Okay, or shareholder himself told, please adjust my dividend to some due amount of call money or calls in areas. Then accordingly, the company have done. In this case also, company have not make any default. Or because the company the shareholder have provided wrong address details or wrong bank account details, the company, even though it wanted to give the dividend, it is not it is not properly going reach into the particular shareholder. In such case also, company did not make any default. In this cases, company is exempted from punishment under section 127 of the Companies Act. Okay, so this is an important theoretical question for 2 to 3 marks. In what cases company is exempted from punishments for non-payment of dividends? Okay, so this is a very, very important small question which is asked in your examination. Okay, now In case of Nidhi companies, Nidhi company also will pay the dividend to its members 100 or less in the following. If the amount of dividend is 100 rupees or less, then what it will do? It will give an advertisement in the newspaper and announce it and also display this particular information. The company is going to pay this particular amount of dividend, which is 100 or less. Please come and collect it. And the advertisement will be displayed in their notice board. Okay, so this is one point. And cancellation of dividends also I have explained you. Once the dividend is declared by the board of directors, they cannot cancel or they cannot revoke back their decision. Dividend can be revoked. The decision of payment of dividend can be revoked only with the permission of shareholders in the general meeting, only after providing proper reasons by the board of directors. This point also I have explained you previously. Okay, now let us see this case laws and let's go back to the investor education protection fund account. These case laws are important. 7th and 8th. The directors of SOM Limited proposed dividend at the rate of 12% on equity shares for the financial year 2015 and 16. The same was approved in the annual general meeting of the company held on 20th September 2016. The directors declared the approved dividend. They want to seek your opinion on following matters. Mr. Ashok, holding equity shares of face value of 10 lakhs, has not paid an amount of 1 lakh towards the call money. Can the same be adjusted against the dividend amount payable to him? Yes, previously I have mentioned, if the shareholder fails to pay the call money, the company can adjust it to the dividend payable to the shareholder. Understood? So please mark it as very easy. The question is very lengthy, but answer is very small. In case if the shareholder did not pay the call money in time to the company, then company can adjust the dividend to the call money payable to the company by the shareholder, as it is possible under the provisions of Companies Act. Next, Miss Nini was the holder of 1,000 equity shares on 31st March 2016, but she has transferred the shares to Mr. Raj, whose name has been registered on 20th May 2016. Now, who is entitled to receive the dividend? The dividend is approved in the general meeting and declared on 20th September. Before that only, the registration and the shares are transferred to Mr. Raj. So, if Mr. Raj names appears in the books of company register of members as a holder of shares, then the dividend would be paid by the company to Mr. Raj himself, as because the transfer have been completed before declaration of dividend, that is before 20th September 2016. Okay, so this is also very easy. Okay, now next, 8th one. During the year under audit, Z Limited credited its P&L account the entire profit of 20 lakh on sale of land. Okay, during the year end, Z Limited credited its P&L account. It credited the account with an entire profit for sale of land, 20 lakh rupees. And you are informed that the directors would like to give this particular 20 lakh rupees as dividends out of profits. Now state your views. They're asking, is it capital profit or not? Yes, because this profit, you are getting this profit of sale of a land. So you get this 20 lakh rupees as a sale of land. It is considered as a capital profit. Still, the capital profit can be utilized for the purpose of distribution of dividend. Understood? So these are the important cases which are asked, which are practical questions which are asked in your examination. So based on this, once please lead the concept and see the practical questions which are affecting based on the particular concept, then you will understand. అమ్మ ప్రొవిజన్ ని కాన్సెప్ట్ ని బాగా చక్కగా అర్థం చేసుకోండి. దాని ప్రకారము ఈ కేస్ లాస్ ని కానీ ప్రాక్టికల్ క్వశ్చన్స్ ని కానీ పేరుతో జాగ్రత్తగా చదవండి. చదివిన తరువాత మీకు ఆ కాన్సెప్ట్ ని ఎలా అప్లై చేయాలనేది ఈజీగా అర్థమవుతుందా నాన్న? ఇది వినండి. ఫస్ట్ కాన్సెప్ట్ ని 1-2 సార్లు వింటూ ఉండండి. విన్న తర్వాత ఇమీడియట్ గా దానికి సంబంధించిన ప్రాక్టికల్ క్వశ్చన్ మనం చెక్ చేసుకున్నాం అనుకోండమ్మా, అప్పుడు ప్రొవిజన్ ఏమిటి, ఆ ప్రొవిజన్ ఎలా రాయాలి, ప్రొవిజన్ కి తగినట్టుగా ఆన్సర్ ఎలా మనం మెన్షన్ చేయాలనేది మనకి క్లారిటీ వస్తుంది. అర్థమైందా నాన్న? ఓకేనా? సో ప్లీజ్ లెర్న్ ద కాన్సెప్ట్ కేర్ఫుల్లీ, అండర్స్టాండ్ ద ప్రొవిజన్ కేర్ఫుల్లీ. Then if you see this practical question, you will know how you can apply the concept to the practical question. How you can sync the provision to the practical question. So for each and every chapter, once you complete reading that particular chapter, then you refer the practical questions related to the chapter. This is the easiest way to understand the Companies Act. Okay, if you think that you would do this practical question at the end of complete revision of Companies Act, then again you would in between you would forget the provisions. So one chapter is over, that particular chapter bits, that particular chapter practical questions, please check so that you can easily remember the practical questions. Okay, the concepts. Now, so in between we have to discuss the concept of Investor Education Protection Fund account under section 125. This generally, if they have to ask, they will ask as a theoretical question only. There is nothing practical out of it. Okay, what is the concept? No, even though it is lengthy, don't get scared. Okay, we will discuss the important points only in this. Okay, Investor Education Protection Fund and any particular specific this particular regulatory authority. This is a regulatory authority which is established by central government. Okay, each particular authority in each particular institution is central government have established. What is the purpose of this is, see, the maximum time limit every company can maintain the amount of dividend in their unpaid dividend account is only to a period of 7 years. 7 years వరకే ఆ పర్టికులర్ అమౌంట్ ని కంపెనీ వాళ్ళు ఆ పర్టికులర్ అన్పేడ్ డివిడెండ్ అకౌంట్ లో మెయింటైన్ చేస్తారు. ఆ తర్వాత కంపెనీ షుడ్ నాట్ యూజ్ ది అమౌంట్ ఫర్ ద కంపెనీస్ పర్పస్. The company cannot touch or cannot utilize the amount which is remaining in unpaid dividend account. Immediately after completion of 7 years, the company should transfer all that amount to the account maintained by Investor Education Protection Fund account. Okay. ఈ పర్టికులర్ ఇన్వెస్ట్మెంట్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ ప్రొటెక్షన్ ఫండ్ వాళ్ళు మెయింటైన్ చేసే అకౌంట్ అంటే సెంట్రల్ గవర్నమెంట్ వాళ్ళు మెయింటైన్ చేసే అకౌంట్ కి ఈ అన్యూటిలైజ్డ్ అన్క్లెయిమ్డ్ అన్ప్లేడ్ అమౌంట్స్ అన్ని కూడా పర్టికులర్ అకౌంట్ లోవి కంపెనీస్ అన్ని కూడా ట్రాన్స్ఫర్ చేసేయాలి. ఓకే, అయితే ఈ పర్టికులర్ అమౌంట్స్ అన్ని కూడా ఈ పర్టికులర్ ఫండ్ లో ఉన్నప్పుడు ఈ ఫండ్ ని మేనేజ్ చేసేది అంతా కూడా సెంట్రల్ గవర్నమెంట్ వాళ్ళు. ద సెంట్రల్ గవర్నమెంట్ విల్ మేనేజ్ దిస్ పర్టికులర్ ఫండ్. The central government will appoint chairmen. Okay, the central government will appoint an authority for administration of this particular fund. ఈ ఫండ్ ని అడ్మినిస్టర్ చేయడం కోసం ఒక అథారిటీ, ఒక రెగ్యులేటరీ అథారిటీని అపాయింట్ చేస్తారు సెంట్రల్ గవర్నమెంట్ వాళ్ళు. And this particular authority consists of a chairman. Okay, and this particular chairman, along with him there are few 7 members and an chief CEO is also there. Chief executive officer is also there. What is their main duty is to see that the amount which they received from the company is used for protection of investor, for bringing awareness to the investors. See, in your when you go for movies, when you go in theaters, you get some advertisement. All the investments made in mutual fund are at your own risk. Such government advertisements, it is notified by the central government, MCA, Ministry of Corporate Affairs. They give few advertisements, in newspapers, in theaters, in TV channels. What all expenditure they incur on those advertisements would be used from this particular fund amount only. The amount which is transferred to this particular fund account will be used for the purpose of protection of investors and bringing awareness to them through giving advertisements, etc. Understood? So whatever advertisements we see on TV channels, in the newspapers and in the movie theaters, the expenditure by the central government is spent from this particular fund account only. Okay, and this particular fund is maintained by these particular authorities who are appointed by the central government. Okay, they will have their own separate accounts for this particular fund. They will maintain separate books of account. And these separate books of accounts also yearly they will get audited by CAG, Controller and Auditor General of India. They will audit these particular books of accounts on regular basis, on yearly basis. They will audit, and they will submit their report as and when required by the central government. Okay, the report of this particular books of accounts of this particular fund, or for the Investor Education Protection Fund, for them, the books of accounts are audited by CAG and report is transferred to central government. And the central government will submit this particular report in the both houses of the parliament. The annual report and the audit report of this particular regulatory authority of this particular fund will be laid before the house of the parliament. Okay, so this is the basic duties. Now, and I have already told you what are the amounts which are transferred to this particular fund account, madam. Okay, there are so many donations given to this particular fund account from central government, state government, unutilized unpaid dividend amounts, and for redemption of preference shares. If the company wanted to redeem, but the shareholders are not there, shareholders have expired, that particular amount is also transferred. And extra application money, extra allotment money is also transferred to this particular fund account. Okay, so all this money, interest accrued on these amounts will also be transferred to this particular fund account. And this fund is utilized for protection and promotion of investor education, awareness, and protecting them. Okay, so these are the utilizations of this particular fund. In this way, investor education fund account is maintained. Madam, for suppose if the shareholder comes to know after 7 years, if his shares and dividend are transferred to this particular fund, can we claim from that particular fund? What the Companies Act recently saying is, yes, the investor can claim only after making an application to the respective authority and to the company asset. Okay, even if what the Companies Act is saying, within 7 years, if an investor or shareholder comes to know that some amount is laying in that particular account, he can claim. After 7 years, if it is transferred to this fund account, still the investor can claim him as he can claim after taking permissions from that particular respective authority and intimating the same to the respective company. Okay. So with this case, we have completed today's topic of dividends. Very, very important from examination perspective for about 5 to 6 marks. 5 నుంచి 6 marks కి లేకపోతే 7 marks and 8 marks కనుక వాళ్ళు ఇష్టం అండి వాళ్ళు ప్రిపరేషన్ చేసేటప్పుడు క్వశ్చన్ పేపర్ ని వాళ్ళు 6 marks కడగచ్చు, 5 marks కడగచ్చు, 8 marks కడగచ్చు. ఈ టాపిక్ చాలా 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 ఇంపార్టెంట్, వెరీ ఇంపార్టెంట్. And what are the different provisions we have seen in this particular topic are, we have seen the dividend definition under 2 subsection 35, the types of interim dividend under 123.3 and 123.4, and what is a final dividend and what is interim dividend, what is difference between final dividend and what is interim dividend, and how much amount of dividends like a company can pay, what are the sources of dividend, how the dividend is paid to equity shareholders, when the dividend is paid to preference shareholders, can the section 8 companies pay the dividend, in case company can declare the dividend from the current year profits and from the accumulated profits, if they are paying from accumulated profits or fee reserves, what are the rules, 3 rules which the company have to follow, and within how much time and ఎంత పీరియడ్ లోపల కంపెనీ వాళ్ళు డివిడెండ్ పే చేయాలి, ఎవరి షేర్ కి ఎవరికి పే చేయాలి, ఏ ఫామ్ లో ఏ మోడ్ లో డివిడెండ్ పే చేయొచ్చు, ఇదంతా కూడా మనం చెప్పుకున్నాం. కేస్ స్టడీస్ ని కూడా కొన్ని మనం డిస్కస్ చేసుకున్నామా. Unpaid dividend account under section 124 also I have explained you clearly. And next, we have also discussed about investor education protection fund under section 125 now. And we have also seen this right to dividend, right station bonus shares to be held in abeyance pending registration. అంటే ట్రాన్స్ఫర్ ఆఫ్ షేర్స్ అప్పుడు పెండింగ్ గా ఉన్నప్పుడు వాటిని మనం ఎలా డీల్ చేయాలి అన్న దాని గురించి కూడా మనం డిస్కస్ చేసాము. అయితే డివిడెండ్ పే చేయకపోతే, డివిడెండ్ డిస్ట్రిబ్యూట్ చేయకపోతే వాట్ ఆర్ ద పనిష్మెంట్స్ ఫర్ ద కంపెనీ ఆల్సో హ్యావ్ బీన్ స్పెసిఫైడ్ హియర్. అండ్ లీన్ ఆన్ డివిడెండ్ అనేది మనం చూసాము. అండ్ కంపెనీస్ ఎగ్జెంప్టెడ్ ఫ్రమ్ పనిష్మెంట్స్ under 127 in following cases. Okay, so these are important provisions for the chapter of dividend. So please listen to this audio again and again. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. And a very, very important topic for your Companies Act syllabus. Hope everyone understood this particular topic. So andarki kuda baga ardhamaindani nenu anukuntanu. Hope everyone, please once again, if you have any doubts, you can listen and please apply the concept, apply the provisions to your practical question. Please in this particular 3 categories you have to prepare. Number 1, in case of direct theoretical question, in form of practical questions, and in form of bits. Please go through. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. See you tomorrow with a new topic, that is audit and the auditors in case of companies. So we will start with a new topic tomorrow. Thank you so much. Once this Companies Act is over, once I complete all the chapters of Companies Act, we will go and learn we'll learn the concept of negotiable instrument under 1881 NI Act and Companies Act ayada we will begin. Okay, so I hope everyone understood. Thank you so much. See you tomorrow, same place, same time. Take care. Bye bye.